welcome to the first part of picking, prepping and performing your monologues. This is the first part, so that is picking your monologues and how to pick the right monologue for you. So the first thing I'd say is that the perfect monologue does not exist. Sad to say it, but it doesn't. If you try and find the perfect monologue, you will spend hours and hours and hours and you won't find it. You want to pick a monologue. This is for MT courses I'm talking about. So the general guidelines are a contemporary monologue and a Shakespeare monologue, some of them ask for. Firstly, your contemporary monologue, places to look. It is that thing of like, it's gonna take you a while to go through and find a monologue that you really like. So if there is a play that you've seen and you go, oh, that character's just said a big long speech, maybe I could do that. Buy that play, read it, see if it fits you. The most important thing is that it's your own age, a character that you would be cast for, a character that you resonate with and you connect with and you feel like you could go on their journey. Doesn't matter if it's in an accent or anything, because all schools will just ask you to do it in your own accent. So try not to worry about that so much. Some places are particular about what kind of monologue they want. So I know Arts Ed say that it has to be a British playwright. They're specific about that. They say that they want your contemporary monologue to be from a British playwright. So make sure that your playwright is British. Where to start looking? Places like the National Theatre Bookshop is really good. They just have loads and loads of plays, especially ones that are current right now, and you can go in and have a look. Ultimately, it is really difficult because you can't buy hundreds of plays and read them all. Well, you can if you're rich, but you can't, and it takes so long. So yeah, the National Theatre Bookshop's really good. You can also look in monologue books. Some people say it's not great to use the monologues from monologue books because, you know, a lot of people will be using them or they've been overdone. But it's a good starting point. Where else are you going to start? Also, have a look at the National Theatre Connections books. We had those in my library at college. They're a collection of plays written for young people recently, and they do one for each year, so they're really good. If you have a playwright you love, maybe research their stuff and see if there's any plays that they've written that are less well known that have got a character in that you could use a monologue from. The advice I've had is don't pick something for shock value, and don't pick something, again, that's the same all the way through. You want to have an emotional journey. You don't want to be depressed the whole way through or really aggressive the whole way through. Refrain doing a speech that is all directed to the audience. I got that advice from someone once. I mean, my speech was actually all directed to the audience. My speech was from this. If you haven't seen this play, you've missed out big time. It was incredible. And that is directed all to the audience. It's Rosie's speech from the opening, but she could have just been talking to her friend, so I directed it as if she was sort of talking to her friend. So you're looking for about 1.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes. Some of them give you guidelines and cut-off lines, and also obviously you need to follow those if there is a cut-off point, but most of them will be around under 2 minutes. So if you can't find a chunk that's long enough for 2 minutes, it's perfectly okay to find sections of text and smudge them together into a monologue, as long as it makes sense. Obviously, if the lines that the person speaks in between, missing them, it still makes sense, then that's fine. You can do that as well, create your own mini monologue. So that's your contemporary. In terms of your Shakespeare, how do you find your Shakespeare speech? I would definitely say if there's a Shakespeare play that you've already studied at school, I know we did Hamlet for coursework and we also did Merchant of Venice, and I've been in a production of Midsummer Night's Dream, so I knew that really well. If there's a Shakespeare play that you know a lot better than another one and there's a monologue in it that you really like, I suggest trying to use that, just purely because it saves you a lot of time doing research and things into the play and understanding the whole play if you already know that. Do you just want to read the monologue? Do you like the language? Do you like the way the character's speaking? If it's a yes, then that's a sign that it's a great monologue. If you're reading it and literally have no clue what they're saying, or you have no idea even what mood this character's supposed to be in, I'd say it's probably not a good monologue to choose, just because you're going to have to work a lot harder to get the feel for it. You really have to understand the play when you're doing the monologue. because they might ask you questions about it and things. So if it's a play that you already understand, obviously Shakespeare is really difficult to understand. Like, once you get into it, it's fine. You need to understand every single word of that monologue. Go on Spark Notes and go on No Fear Shakespeare and get the English translation. No Fear Shakespeare is my absolute hero. I love it. It's so helpful. Obviously, you need to be able to get to a point where you can understand the language, but you do by reading like the translation of it and things. Some places give you a list of the monologues that you have to choose from. I know Central do a list, and Arts Ed also give you a list, and you don't get that list until after you've applied. So I say don't fret about that. You've just obviously got to choose one off their list, and if it happens to be the one you've already prepared, that's great, but if not, then don't worry about it, because you just learn a new one, and they know that you've had like less time to learn it anyway because they gave it to you. I think the list for Central though, I'll post it in the link below. I think they just have that live on their website, so you can pick one from there. Maybe that would save you some time if you could then use it at all your other schools. Ideally, you want 2 Shakespeare speeches, and you want them to be contrasting. It just shows the different styles that you can play and the different characters that you could play. So my first speech was I Would Not Be Thy Executioner from As You Like It, which is Phoebe's monologue from As You Like It. So that's quite angry, it's hard hitting. And then my second speech was Cressida from Troilus and Cressida, which is her like in love and talking about how much she loves him and she'd do anything for him. And the Cressida one was from the Arts Ed list, actually. The other one wasn't, I don't think. I think it's on the Central list though. It wasn't on the Arts Ed list, but it was on the Central list, I think. So yeah, that's about how to pick your monologues. I'd just say, if you're contemporary, make sure it's someone your own age, your own casting, and then for your Shakespeare, I'd just say make sure you completely understand what you're saying and pick something that you feel you really love the language and you feel like you could really get involved in the language that they're using. So please join me for please join me for part 2, where I'll be talking about how to prep those monologues for your audition. Thanks, bye. Prepping? No, that's not prepping.